Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 disappointing video games of the 1990s. For this list, we'll be continuing our series of the most disappointing video games and focusing on the major letdowns of the 1990s. These games aren't necessarily the worst of the decade. Rather, they were the most disappointing due to their pre-release hype and resulting lackluster quality. Any of these disappoint you? Vent in the comments. Number 10. Night Trap. Let's be serious, the entire Sega CD console was a massive disappointment.
That wasn't too bad, kid.
And Night Trap proved that it would be so right from the start. Night Trap was set to blow the gaming industry wide open, as it was going to blend movies and gaming into a seamless and interactive experience.
This isn't gonna work. You're not scaring me. Wait.
When the game was released, it was met with mixed reviews, with many praising the interactive element but criticizing the boring gameplay.
Listen, things are getting really weird around here. Keep your eyes open and watch out for the other girls. I'll be right back.
However, its reception has grown considerably worse over time and is now regarded as a horribly dated and dull disaster.
Oh, thanks, Control. That was close.
If it wasn't for the Senate hearing controversy, this game would have quickly faded into obscurity.
A closet trap!
But it was going to be a surprise.
Thanks.
Number 9. Twisted Metal 3. While the first Twisted Metal game was certainly no masterpiece, its sequel was a legitimately fantastic game, and it's often considered to be one of the PlayStation's greatest titles. Due to its success, hype was through the roof for the series' third installment. However, a major red flag was thrown when we learned that a new team, 989 Studios, was taking the reins.
You do believe in Santa, don't you? Let's say you drop by, put the fat guy out of business for good.
We were right to be worried, as the resulting product was a disaster, and its disgustingly bad physics engine made it near unplayable. But hey, that Rob Zombie soundtrack kicked ass. Number 8. Mortal Kombat 4. Mortal Kombat was all the rage in the 1990s, mostly due to its highly controversial violent content.
Thousands of years ago, in a battle with the fallen elder god known as Shinnok, I was responsible for the death of an entire civilization.
Imagine everyone's giddy surprise then when Midway announced that Mortal Kombat 4 would be the first Mortal Kombat to be released in 3D. We mean, just think of all the glorious violence and gore the 3D graphics can offer.
Round 1, fight!
However, when the game was finally released, it was just good. Nothing great, just good. While critics praised the 3D, many felt that it was just the same old Mortal Kombat with a fresh and fancy new coat of paint. It wasn't bad by any means, but it definitely wasn't the major leap forward we were all expecting. Number 7. Phantasmagoria. If you weren't around in the mid-90s, it's hard to describe just what a big deal Phantasmagoria was. It was released at the height of interactive movie games, and its complex development process was a thing of legend.
We have to admit, this place is kind of strange.
Yeah, it's different. You know, I bet the guy that built this place must have been really bizarre.
The script was over 500 pages. It featured more than 1,000 backgrounds, the developers hired professional special effects artists, and the score included a 135-voice choir. In short, it was more like a Hollywood production rather than a video game. Despite being a financial success, Phantasmagoria was a huge disappointment in the quality department. It was an ambitious game, but it simply fell flat in just too many aspects.
You just keep going on and on and on.
Number 6. Earthworm Jim 3D.
Let's dance. Whoa, Nelly.
The first two Earthworm Jim games were charming little platformers released throughout the 1990s. This third installment was set to be the first game in the series to feature three-dimensional graphics, but there was a chink in the armor. It wasn't being developed by Shiny, but a new company called Vis Entertainment. After a long production, Earthworm Jim 3D was released on Halloween 1999, and it wasn't good. The 3D gimmick horribly backfired, as the camera was a confusing and frustrating mess, and the gameplay was boring, especially when you compared it to superior 3D platformers like Super Mario 64. It's safe to say that Earthworm Jim did not make a flawless transition to 3D. Number 5. Battlecruiser 3000 AD. Battlecruiser 3000 AD was set to be an expansive spaceflight simulation game led by the celebrity like Derek Smart. Smart became a prominent figure in the gaming community in the early 1990s due to his ambitious ideas, and the game went through an arduous development process, which only served to create more hype and anticipation. However, enough was enough, and the game was released in an incomplete and terribly buggy state, which disappointed many of its followers.
Activating TAC Ops computer.
Marines ready for combat deployment.
On top of that, some claimed that it wasn't nearly as ambitious and epic as Smart made it sound. Think of it as the No Man's Sky of the 90s. Number 4. Ultima 9 Ascension.
Greetings, Avatar. Britannia awaits.
You'd think players would know what they're getting into when they buy the 9th installment of a popular franchise. Well, you'd be wrong. Ultima 9 served as, well, the 9th installment of the popular Ultima series, but it was fraught with production difficulties, including constant story rewrites.
You managed to disarm your mortal enemy in a duel, and he is at your mercy. Will you show compassion or valor?
When the game was released, it was bizarrely unrecognizable as an Ultima title, as the story was nonsensical and largely ignored the events of the preceding games. On top of that, it was full of bugs, which made it borderline unplayable for those who could ignore the story issues. No one bought the game, and its poor reception killed the Ultima series forever.
What remains is yours, but I am finished. Now leave me.
Number 3. Prince of Persia 3D. As we've previously established, the late 1990s were a time when game companies were transitioning their popular franchises to 3D to capitalize on the emerging technology. As you could probably tell, Prince of Persia 3D was the first game in the original series to release in 3D, and while the graphics and action sequences were interesting, they couldn't save the otherwise painfully mediocre title. Like Earthworm Jim 3D, it seems as if the developers couldn't quite grasp the new three-dimensional mechanics, as both the camera and controls were atrocious. For a game centered around platforming, this is a very, very bad thing indeed. Number 2. Rise of the Robots. Fighting games were all the rage in the early 90s thanks to Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Rise of the Robots looked to not only capitalize on the insanely popular genre, but revolutionize it with artificial intelligence the likes of which no one had ever seen. However, as we should have guessed, the finished product was a complete mess. While the graphics and music were very impressive, everything else about the game, including the slow moves, terrible AI, and simplistic fighting mechanics, ranged from disappointing to straight up terrible. We're all still playing Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, but everyone has long forgotten about Rise of the Robots. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Castlevania.
Killer outfit. Too bad the nightlife sucks.
Also known as Castlevania 64, this game was the first in the series to utilize 3D technology, surprise surprise, and the idea of a three-dimensional Castlevania game excited both audiences and critics alike. Hype was raised even higher after fans got their hands on a playable demo at the Tokyo Game Show, as Castlevania looked to be a more than worthy addition to the gothic horror series. While it wasn't awful by any means, it failed to live up to the enormous expectations that fans had set for it. The controls and camera were particularly bad, which seems to be a recurring problem for series transitioning to 3D. Turns out that even Castlevania isn't immune. In the mood for more awesome gaming content? Be sure to check out this video here on Mojo Plays. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.